Hello and welcome to Uncanny Book Club. I'm Isaac Faderspiel, and joining me as always is the illustrious Adam Ward.
Whoa! I've never been called illustrious before, so I'm quite honored.
Yep, I just went with the one that came to me in the moment. I might have to start planning these out.
I'll have to get you a thesaurus.
Christmas is approaching. Or, well, if you're listening to this, Christmas was recently.
Yeah, Happy New Year, I think, is probably most appropriate.
That sounds right. The first Uncanny Book Club of 2026.
Holy cow. And at this point, I still have not watched Dark Phoenix, so not starting the new year with that.
That shouldn't be the first movie you watch.
It shouldn't
That
even be
sets you
the
up for a
first.
rough year.
It shouldn't even be the first X-Men movie I watch of the year.
No, probably not.
Damn. Well, maybe 2026 will be the year that I finally watch it. Maybe I need some sort of incentive, like maybe we get one of these episodes up to like 100 views. Boom. Dark Phoenix, let's go.
There we go.
The gauntlet's been laid. And speaking of gauntlets, we have a bit of a showdown happening in these issues.
What a segue.
Yeah, you like that? It's pretty.
I do.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Still is, even though I'm bragging about it.
Think we should just get into it then.
Yeah, begrudgingly, I will say.
Begrudgingly.
Look.
But it's Murder World. It's funny how it's like X-Men versus Murder World, and it's got Arcade in the background, but he's not there at all.
He's not really involved at all.
At all. Like, he's not running the show. He's not really involved.
No, because he's technically...
It's also not really murders.
He's technically a captive of Doctor Doom right now.
That's a weird situation we're going to have to talk about.
Can we quickly just talk about this cover before you get into the context of this issue? Looking at this cover was very confusing for me, if I'm very honest, because I don't know... obviously, I know what Havoc looks like, and that I can tell this is Havoc. But I've never seen Havoc
like that,
in an all-white outfit. That was odd. And then I'm looking at this...
Any page inside of this book where he's not wearing a white outfit?
Yeah, it's so strange. I've never seen that before, and I don't think we've seen that either in any of the issues up to this point.
I think this is just some Alex Summers shade. He's the Forgotten Summers brother.
We have Lorna here on the right, who looks like Clea Strange.
She's back in the villain outfit, I believe.
It's very evil looking. I will give her that. It's I don't hate it, but it's giving me Clea Doctor Strange vibes.
It goes good with the green hair.
Yeah, I agree. I like the green kind of outline too that they did to kind of play up that green. Because in the future, her outfit is primarily green, is it not?
I mean, it probably depends on the day, but I think in the more current comics, she's typically wearing her super suit or whatever is green.
Yeah, okay.
I think green lipstick too. It's good to coordinate.
She's definitely color coordinated, that's for sure.
And then sunglasses and a big thing of coffee.
She's my kind of gal, coffee and all. I don't know that I knew this was Banshee in the background.
You can tell it's Sean because he's got a gun. A weird-looking gun, but a gun nonetheless.
He looks like
It looks like a Star Wars blaster.
It does look like a Star Wars blaster, and he looks like he is wearing an outfit stolen from Black Widow.
Maybe he is. He was Interpol. So like Black Widow, he's kind of a spy?
Is that the outfit of
Not
choice
really.
for a spy? Maybe.
I think so.
Maybe in the 70s. Or 80s now. With me nitpicking this cover, done with. Why don't we talk about what happens inside?
Issue 146 opens with Doom bossing around a storm bot that he built and pondering if the crazy storm building around his base has anything to do with the Weather Witch that he is imprisoned in organic chrome. The rest of the captured X-Men have all been placed in little escape rooms that test their powers and mind. Miles away, Scott and Lee are weathering the very same storm in a makeshift shelter, but a lightning bolt sends them flying and Scott's powers are revealed. Lee helps them retie the blindfold and doesn't push on what just happened. The X-Men B team is able to locate Murder World and begin their rescue mission, but are promptly caught and split up. Meanwhile, all the hostages are sitting boxed up as presents, same as the last time. Havoc is able to free himself, and he casually takes out Miss Locke's helper dude. Sean, Polaris, and Iceman rescue who they think is Moira, Candy, and Amanda, but the three robots self-destruct, confusing Sean more than it probably should. Meanwhile, Havoc sneaks up and drapes himself all sexy across Miss Locke's control board and blows up her gun when she tries to attack him. The B Squad emerges victorious with the hostages saved. The issue ends with Doom peering out his window and Arcade teasing him about Nightcrawler escaping from his room. I did not realize that my summary of this issue was as short as it was, but it's very fitting because I believe that's exactly how things were when we did Murder World the first time. Just kind of everybody's stuck in a wacky situation until they free themselves, and then they, just play by other rules and get to where they need to go and win the day.
Yeah, I found it actually interesting because we kind of have like two very similar situations unfolding with two very different teams that are
Mm-hmm.
also created by two very different people. You have Doom, who is basically testing the X-Men. He's heard about them.
Gathering some scientific evidence.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out like how they work, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and you can tell that in the tests, like in these rooms where they're trying to escape. If you look at the room that Nightcrawler was in, it was specifically designed to make it difficult to navigate because he couldn't tell where anything was. And inevitably, we'll see him falling from the sky because he had to make a guess. So that was like a underestimation by Doom that we end up seeing play out.
I don't know if it was an underestimation. I feel like it was more like, here is the barrier. I want to see if you'll jump over it.
Well, I don't think he was expecting him to teleport out, but maybe, I mean, I think what you said makes a lot of sense too. So let's go with that.
I feel like he put everybody in a situation that was like geared. And, maybe this wasn't his intent, and maybe this is just the writer's intent, but everybody's situation was just felt geared to like them specifically. Like
Mm-hmm.
Nightcrawler just has to make a bold assumption and go for it. I feel like Angels is about being decisive. Colossus's is about using his head instead of his powers. Logan's is like, I don't know, not relying too much on his rage or instincts, or I don't know.
Yeah,
His was kind of weird.
I think you nailed it. They talked about well, there's a flashback in the next issue, I believe, right? That kind of goes into this a little bit more. But yeah, it's implied like he needs to use his head. I think it's kind of like what the takeaway was rather than, yeah, like his instincts. I felt like the way it's established with Doom is like very Doom-like. It
Mm-hmm.
just felt more, oh, this is like what a real villain would do, right? Like he isn't necessarily going in there to kill them. If it happened, fine, but not necessarily his big plan. And then you have Arcade, who makes like these bold, grand claims of being the greatest assassin there is and having this theme park that is just, it's ham, right? Like it's super hammy. I did enjoy
Has TIE fighters.
I enjoyed this version of Murder World and like the dumb rooms more, I think, than the first one.
Yeah, I mean, it the shtick with all of these was kind of the same of like, here's a fake
Yeah, I didn't like
demonic
that.
robot that's gonna explode. I thought that was like a little fun. Like the Ileana one was kind of like very creepy.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And then when it when it happens later, I just laughed because I feel like Sean is very gullible. Like we've had this before where like, I think it was Murder World where he's fighting Magneto and the Hulk maybe, and he's like, "Why are they here?" And it's like, really? And now it's like, oh my god, Moira's exploded.
I
But
mean,
how?
he's probably dealing with a lot. It would be
It's
stressful
it's a stressful time.
to see your partner explode suddenly. I did question Iceman's room. Like, we have these android hockey players that he easily handles.
That is such a badly designed, like, what is it supposed to test for him really? Like, there's it's like, oh, there's acid in the ground, but like he can just keep freezing it.
Well, and he doesn't though. And I wondered that as well because I thought
He just like escapes off screen.
why wouldn't he just, refreeze the ground if it's that thin? It's not like he can't. It's not like he can't build it out from the side of the room, so it's connected to something that isn't the floor. And I also, I don't know. I wish if anybody knows the science here, if ice could actually form above acid, I would be very curious to know.
You can freeze anything. He can freeze the acid. I mean, he like conjures snow and ice, so he can definitely do it. It's funny that he, I guess, chooses not to escape until Lorna drops from the ceiling, and then he's like, oh, I guess I'll just super cool the wall and crash through it. Before that, he was just probably having a good time, I guess,
Yeah, I guess. Um,
hanging out with the robot hockey players.
I felt like the rooms were a little bit more fun. I did like the quirkiness and the ham of the ice rink room.
And I think one of the things that we really harped on last time was like, did Murder World really need 2 issues? This time we've wrapped things up in like less than 1 issue of being actually inside Murder World. So I'd say that that's a bonus. It's an improvement.
Yeah, I certainly liked. There were some things that were fun, right? And I felt like the room with the merry-go-round was fun, where there were like weird demonic horses, and that's where we get like the Ileana demon robot that pulls out a gun and tries
Pulls
to
out a
shoot
gun. That's
Lorna.
funny.
It says like eat hot lead.
No, it says eat hot lead, sucker.
Yeah, eat hot lead, sucker. Oh man, that
That's
it
good.
was very fun. So like overall, I liked it better than the first time, but I wish the stakes were a little bit bigger if we're calling something Murder World that has yet to murder anybody.
Fake Murder World.
Yeah, fake Murder World. Honestly, I'm gonna feel this way by the end of this episode after kind of what's gonna happen, specifically in the third issue. But I really don't think I care much about Angel being on this team.
I have a note that says the same thing.
I don't think he really brings anything to the group. He's being written as like very like adversarial to other members.
He's very whiny.
He is very whiny. Like, I don't get the vibe that he wants to be there. It feels like he was basically brought back to momentarily be on the team while we have like this side thing with Cyclops. And they probably didn't want to introduce a second new character because they just brought in Kitty. So
It feels like the editing team saying, add this character in versus the writing team being like, let's add an angel,
I would be
which might
curious
be the
about that.
case.
Yeah.
I have some good news. I'm pretty sure Angel does not stick around for very long.
I think my feeling based off of how the third issue starts is this is kind of the beginning of the end.
That'd be good.
Because I imagine we're going to get into like it's me or him sort of thing.
And everyone on the team is like, it's him.
Sorry,
We
bud.
choose Wolverine.
It's not you, Angel. It's us, and we're choosing Wolverine.
We already have someone else that can fly.
It is like better in every single way, shape, and form, as we see here with her inside of this carbonite like state. where she can subconsciously think thoughts and summon a storm that is like engulfing the entire East Coast.
Speaking of that, it's hard to transition away from the John Byrne art, but when there is that one page where it's like the close up of like her eyes and like her face and like just like the rage, like boiling,
Mm.
crazy elemental tempest thing going on with her eyes. I think that was very well done. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. There was definitely some fan service, I will say, in these issues, particularly with the stuff that kind of goes on with Scott.
Yeah.
Now that we're kind of a couple issues into this side story with Scott, with them being stranded on this island, what are your thoughts right now with this? Like, not even considering what's in the next issue or the issue after, but like, what are your thoughts at this point on this side story?
I actually have this in my notes. It's disappointing that we don't spend more time with Scott and Lee, and it feels like they're really just slow walking this thread,
Yeah.
and they could have sped this along a lot. But we're probably, I mean, it's planned out to a point where, they want that big reveal at the end of issue 148. So they're just like stair stepping it too slowly.
I think what you just said basically describes this arc, the next one, like the next issue, which is, basically a one off. It just feels like we're killing time, you know? It's not to throw a number out yet, but like I felt very mid reading this.
Hmm.
Or this is pretty mid.
Sure.
It just doesn't feel like, specifically coming off the back of Days of Future Past, we have definitely plateaued and we are now kind of like middling downward. This arc is not my favorite. It's not my thing. It is what it is. But even beyond that, the third issue that we'll talk about is just it sucked. It wasn't good. It wasn't. Nothing happened. It's
You
like,
can't talk about the third issue while we're talking about the first issue.
well, I just did. I'm sorry.
We can move on to issue number 2.
Yeah, let's start moving along here because I feel like we're just spinning in circles now.
My other notes are just things like Doom hates arcade, but he really values honesty. And throughout these issues, I'm a little confused why exactly Doom is holding arcade. Because he's a guest, but he's also captured. I don't understand the situation, and I don't feel like they explained it or explained it well.
I agree 100%. I am equally confused by
Why
this
is he
dynamic.
here?
I think it's just that he insulted Doom.
But he's a guest and a prisoner. Because they made a big point in the issues we talked about last time of like, he's a guest, he's not a prisoner. I'm gonna throw a lightning bolt.
Yeah, he is smoking Cubans up there.
That's true. He's being treated very well, and he's able to get away with. He's able to be a little too mouthy with Doom.
I'm going to give you our what's becoming a thread in our podcast, where we Google something during a recording and the AI provides a response that has historically not been accurate. So according to the Google AI, which I'm not going to take on the surface here because I'm going to go look it up elsewhere, but it states that Arcade was, quote, seen interacting with Doctor Doom and even lighting a match on his armor. The implication was a team up or interaction that seemed familiar.
That happens in this issue.
And then it says he did not imprison the villain Arcade. They were briefly allies.
Mm, that doesn't feel right.
Nope. All right. I found an article about this very topic called That Time Dr. Doom and Arcade Took the X-Men to Murder World.
My favorite summer teen movie.
Because when we first see him, because I'm looking at a panel of this right now, Arcade looks like he's being held captive. And then I think they show up and suddenly he's like just walking around.
Well, and at the very end of this next issue, the X-Men are like, "Hey, can we have this dude?" And Doom's like, "Yeah, okay, take him."
Oh, okay. Hold on. I found something. I have a bit of an issue with this story. A lot of it seems to rely on having read an issue of Marvel 2-in-1 that's mentioned in the above panel. But that issue doesn't appear to be on Marvel Unlimited. I couldn't read it, so I have no idea why Doctor Doom and Arcade are feuding, nor do I really understand what the two of them of their goals are for the rest of the story. So,
Yeah,
okay, Marvel 2-in-1. 2-in-1.
I don't know that I'm interested enough in this.
I mean, I am kind of, because this entire situation,
While you look it up, I'm going to read the 147 summary.
yeah, go for it.
Issue 147 reveals how Nightcrawler escaped his featureless room. He teleported 2 miles straight up. This causes him to gray out a bit, but he comes to and is able to catch an updraft to help him safely teleport down. We get to see a side of Nightcrawler that isn't typical, a very irritated and angry one. He takes out some Doom goons and begins working his way through the castle on a rescue mission. Peter uses his brain to escape his situation, as Angel escapes his by being decisive. Wolverine has some flashbacks of when he lost control and nearly killed James and Heather Hudson, but he pulls it together, powers through, and escapes his room as well. It's also Wolverine who finds Doom first, and he tears through the fake Stormbot without any hesitation. Nightcrawler enters the fight immediately after, and the two are able to capture Doom, who gives up an orb to reverse what was done to Storm. Storm emerges as more of an elemental force than a person, and the X-Men are reminded of how the Phoenix's power overtook Jean Grey. X-Men and Doom team up to try and deal with the enraged Storm, but instead of force, it is Peter's plea for her to succeed where Jean Grey failed that pulls Storm back. She flies up and dissipates the raging tempest. Now calm, Storm requests that Doom allow the X-Men to take Arcade, and Doom's pledge that he won't harm him. Doom says she asks much, and that Arcade insulted him, but an apology will suffice. Arcade agrees, as the alternative is Wolverine killing him. Doom also apologizes to Aurora, and the two part as neither friend or foe. Meanwhile, on a beach, a shirtless Scott Summers wakes with Lee clutching his manly chest. He accidentally calls her Jean, but it's not too big of a deal, as Lee then sees that an entire city has popped up on the island where there wasn't one before.
Good news. I know what happens in those issues of Marvel 2-in-1.
I'm ready.
Doctor Doom hires Arcade to design a custom murder world to eliminate the Thing, but Iron Man gets pulled into this trap, and then Spider-Man gets pulled into this trap. But the partnership immediately sours as Arcade adds his own unauthorized fun to Doom's plans, and the two villains constantly needle each other. The Thing and his rotating allies fight through Doom-themed traps, killer robots,
Robots.
and Arcade's carnival-style death machines, ultimately surviving the gauntlet. While Doom denounces Arcade's incompetence and storms off, and Arcade slips away through a hidden escape route, leaving Murder World and ruin behind them. So, if anything, I feel more confused, because this kind of feels like they just finished their whatever team up, went their separate ways, and here we are, I don't know how long afterwards, and they're kind of working together.
I think this is just, hey, we need to weave these different stories together a little bit, write these two people into this comic so that we can sell more of that comic.
Oof. Well, let me tell you, it don't work.
It's interesting how Arcade under-delivers on murder, but over-delivers on kidnapping, where he's constantly not killing anyone, but he's also kidnapping way too many people. It's like, ah, dang, I went for Spider-Man and I also got Daredevil. Ah, man, I went for the Thing and I picked up two other heroes.
Well, once again, proving that nobody is murdered in Murder World.
That'd be a good t-shirt.
Doom should make some and sell them. right outside of Murder World. That's true spite. So we talked earlier about Logan's kind of trap, which I think had a couple of different layers to it because it was painted in a way that was supposed to affect Logan's mind,
Black and white checkers are very confusing. It's like zebras.
and he was also like suspended in the air in like an anti-gravity room or something. Anyways, I think the idea was like we're just gonna keep him in the middle of the room without knowing what is up or down or where is anything, and like
Bounced
that's the trap.
around, hitting all the walls.
Yeah, and so in the midst of all this, we get like a flashback or a hallucination, perhaps, that Logan experiences, where we see him mention his berserker rage. And this was, to me, incredibly fascinating because we've seen Logan kind of acting a little aggressive at times in the last couple of issues. And it seemed really kind of out of character given where we've been with Logan. And obviously understanding that he has a certain underlayer that is always going to be, feral. But seeing Logan kind of have this inner monologue talking about this berserker rage, how it's blowing up inside of him, how he has been able to hold it under control since joining the X-Men, and it has been starting to essentially bubble up. So I don't know what this means. I'm glad we're kind of getting a little bit of an explanation to what's been going on with Logan, because I don't know that I necessarily got the vibe that there was something this was leading to.
I feel like they've used the term berserker's rage before, though, or they've been like dropping it in more recently.
They definitely have.
They want to build towards something, or add a different layer, add a little bit more context to his like random outbursts.
My guess is that this is kind of leading to this ultimate confrontation that we're going to get between Logan and Angel, where I think Logan's going to have to confront this berserker rage that he's feeling and maybe like be like, no, I want to be on this team and I can control myself.
You think it'll be like a dramatic situation, not just like a angel fizzling out and leaving to no fanfare?
This is like me just totally guessing, but the way I imagined it
Yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
like some sort of confrontation. Like I said, like a him or me type of situation. I could see some sort of confrontation between Logan and Warren that's
Have they
instigated by
ever talked
Warren.
to each other?
I don't know.
I feel like I feel like the two haven't really interacted. It's just Warren being grumpy and going behind his back and being like, "That dude's a psycho."
Yeah, I'll save my thoughts of that interaction for our next issue. But yeah, as I said, I don't think Angel's adding a whole lot to this team at the moment, other
No,
than being a seat warmer.
and Rich.
Yeah, yeah, and very rich. I felt like this was kind of fun. This issue, I liked it more than I think the last one in terms of,
It's it's the highlight of the three.
yeah, definitely. Kind of seeing Storm emerge in this like Phoenix esque state, which kind of gets brought up. And we see that Storm is kind of accepting maybe the judgment she felt of Jean, when Jean was kind of going through her Phoenix transformation. And that
Mhm.
works in her favor here because it's able to kind of snap her out of the mindset she was in. But I think this entire arc has really shown how powerful Storm is, right? And I think how well rounded she is as a character because, this is, we just watched Jean go through this very kind of situation where she succumbed to the madness. That situation is a little different because that was really, I think, manipulated by the Hellfire Club. Like that really kickstarted things in I think, a very negative way. Who's to say what would have happened if, Jason Wingard didn't meddle with Jean's head at all.
Hmm.
So this is all to say, I overall like this issue more than the last one. Arcade just kind of gets
Arcade
released.
isn't in this one. That's why it's better. He doesn't. I don't think he shows up until the very end. Actually, no, that's in my note. Barely any Arcade equals good thing. Glad we're wrapped with Murder World. Crazy that we spent like 3 issues on that situation.
It's very true, though.
I think one of the only other things for me is I think this is a very good Nightcrawler issue.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the most combat focused powers, but he is essential in defeating Doom, who is a bit of a powerhouse, big player, freeing Storm. He's the first to free himself, and then he goes back in to rescue everyone else. And then I just, I enjoy the him looking mad, being scary and demonic and snarling at people and then just teleporting behind them. I think it's good little highlight for it not being like an entire issue of just following him around. And I don't know why, but the dialogue between the goons also stood out to me as just really good. There's something about it. I think it's because they sound like people instead of being like, I don't know, grumpy and disgruntled and like, we gotta kill the X-Men. It's more just, I'm gonna tease you. What, you never seen a hurricane before? This is great coffee. Blah, blah, blah. Feels more real.
He is a bit of a standout even in the next issue, albeit very briefly. His interaction with Logan was like the highlight of the entire issue for me.
Well, now we're gonna have to,
Explain. Yeah, so please do.
yeah.
So please do.
Issue 148's cover lets us know that we'll be seeing Dazzler and Spider-Woman in addition to the X-Men. We kick things off with Lee leading a blind Scott, both wearing clothes that are on their last legs, into the mysterious city. Lee notes that they're without food, water, clothes, or other people, but that they have shelter in abundance. Then she asks Scott if he wants to take advantage of it and goes in for a kiss. After a moment, Scott dramatically tears himself away, and Lee asks if the issue is Jean. Scott declares that her name was Jean Grey. They were in love, and she died. Lee yells at Scott, saying she isn't asking for involvement, that she is likewise experiencing the loss of someone, and that she just wants some companionship. She runs off, leaving him pretty helpless. Scott bumps around for a bit, but takes off his blindfold in frustration. Lee comes back and the two hug it out. The narration says that the night passes and the two find peace in each other's arms. Meanwhile, back at the X Mansion, Wolverine and Nightcrawler are playing a game of cat and mouse outside. Loser buys the beer. Logan wins and reveals that he was able to escape detection due to an old ninja trick he learned in Japan. Angel is still upset about Wolverine and wants Storm and Xavier to kick him off the team because of how he tore through the fake Storm without hesitation. He flies off, upset after not getting his way. Sean is visited by Teresa Rourke, who bears a letter from his cousin, Tom, a villain and rival of Sean's. The letter states that Teresa is his long-lost daughter that he didn't know he had. Spider-Woman is just randomly there for all this, and her and Storm comfort Moira, who is a little bothered by the news. Meanwhile, a shady figure named Caliban emerges from a sewer, sensing others like him. Storm, Kitty, Stevie, and Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, are out on the town to see Dazzler perform at her invitation. They hear a commotion, so Kitty phases through the floor to check it out. Dazzler sees that she's missing and that Storm is upset, so she puts on a light show to allow them to sneak off. Kitty is captured by Caliban, who tries to run away with her. Caliban punches Spider-Woman out a window at some point and escapes down an elevator shaft. Dazzler keeps her audience calm by basically hypnotizing them with light, and Storm and Spider-Woman are able to catch up and free Kitty from Caliban. His mask falls, and they see that Caliban is a mutant that can't pass for human. Some sorries are said, and he's able to slip off into the night. Back in the Bermuda Triangle, Scott and Lee are discussing their situation when another man arrives and says, "I thought my island was deserted. How pleasant to discover that I was mistaken." Scott recognizes the voice instantly, and Magneto emerges, welcoming his two guests as Scott hopes that he goes unrecognized. Next issue, and the dead shall bury the living, whatever that means. My first note for this issue is just good soap opera drama in this one. Like, you have been, talking a little bit down on this one. I think the Caliban storyline is very bad, boring, whatever. It's kind of, a nothing sandwich. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
But I think the Scott and Lee situation is kind of fun to read. The Magneto turning up at the end. I think that little beeline thread that we've been slow walking up to this point, and like, God, hopefully sometime in the next two issues, can we spend like maybe an entire issue there instead of have it be like two pages here and there. But I thought all of that was pretty good. Yeah, that was, I guess, I think that was the main soap opera drama.
So I agree.
I guess Angel as well, but that's not interesting.
I agree. My big problem with this issue is really everything that happens with Caliban, which, if it was me as an editor on this book, I would have swapped the stories. Where this is like some tiny, nonsensical, couple panel arc that we kind of see advance the story. Like, Caliban basically kidnaps Kitty Pryde, and the entire thing is a misunderstanding, and
For some reason, Kitty doesn't use her powers to escape.
it's just I didn't like it.
Spider Woman is there.
Spider Woman's there. It's never really explained
Why
why.
is she there, though?
Like, Dazzler's advertised, and it's just like they're at her show, and she doesn't really do anything but perform.
I'm fine with that.
And it just felt so meaningless when all of the interesting stuff is the side piece in this book.
Yeah. It's so weird that the cover is like Dazzler and Spider Woman to the rescue when Kitty falls to the shadow of death. That is really overselling what happens in this issue.
It really is. Yeah, Dazzler doesn't really do anything, and yeah, I mean,
She hypnotizes a crowd.
Spider Woman gets beat on. Anyway, so I wanted. That's all I really want to say about any of that. I didn't like it, and I think it was a massive downer on this issue.
That's super fair.
And I hope we don't really see it pay off anytime soon. I hope we're pivoting away from whatever the hell that was, because it was
Like, you're
not good.
saying you don't want to continue like a thread that follows Caliban anywhere?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I think,
Okay.
like, I think that's where this is going. Obviously, like, you're not going to introduce a character like Caliban, give them a name, and not bring them back at some point, right? Like, what did we learn about him? We learned that he's a mutant, that he doesn't like humans, and that he lives in the sewer.
And he don't look like humans. I'm assuming this is like building to like a Morlock intro, right?
I would have to imagine, yes.
Caliban is like such a weird, and like, it's even weird to call him an antagonist, but antagonist for this issue. The one thing I do like is that I think it's a good reminder or introduction or reintroduction that a lot of mutants don't have the luxury of being
Yes.
human passing.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I feel like we haven't really explored at all throughout this yet. Like all the X-Men, well, Nightcrawler.
Kind of, right?
I mean, he's got the little watch.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of the scenarios where Nightcrawler would really be scaring people had been kind of like MacGuffined away with the transmogrifier or whatever it is.
Or he wears the low hat to cover his face slightly.
Yeah, with a trench coat. It was very in
Yeah.
at the time. No, I agree. It is a good reminder that being a mutant isn't necessarily a glory for everyone. You can't just blend in when you're like a big furry monster. Okay, so now that we've kind of like discussed the Caliban stuff, is there anything else that you want to touch on before we get to the good stuff?
I mean, what are we defining as the good stuff here?
Everything that
What
isn't
is it that you
Caliban.
want to work to? I mean, I've got a multitude of things in my
All
notes,
right.
but
Okay,
that was the only Caliban thing.
then let's walk away from the Caliban stuff for now.
All
Anyways.
right.
Okay. Let's start at the beginning of
Do
this
you want to shit
issue.
talk Angel? Okay, we're gonna do it in
No,
order.
no, 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 no. Let's talk about the story that's happening with Scott and Lee, because as we are introduced to them in this issue, the artists are damn thirsty with both Scott and Lee on this opening page. By God.
I like it. I feel like the X-Men comics recently have been a lot more sexually charged, both
Yes.
in language and art.
Uh it's the 80s, I guess. Maybe they're taking
Yeah,
new risque now.
or Coke.
I don't know. It's yeah, the artist definitely had a theme, and it was thirst. Because this issue is a thirst trap, like throughout. But on the next page we get this big landscape shot of the city.
What are we looking at here?
So
Like, is
right,
this Atlantis or
yeah, I was
like at
literally
first I was
thinking that,
like,
right? But
are we going to see Namor?
he is a mutant, so that would be a
I
safe
don't know
bet.
if he is at this point in like comic continuity, but
Yeah, it's very strange, and even stranger that we end with Magneto showing up and that
that's
he
a
proclaims this is his
twist.
island.
Maybe he landed the asteroid
Asteroid
and
M?
for some
Yeah, maybe.
reason moved Atlantis onto it. I don't know where I'm going with that thought. I mean, when you are a quote unquote mutant terrorist, you could just claim things for yourself. You can just say, like, this is my
Yeah.
island.
I made that statement and then I thought, well, if I'm Magneto, I'm probably just rolling up wherever I want and saying, this is mine now. Like, what are you going to do about it? Nothing? Yeah, that's right. Your description of this being very soap opera-y is, I think, very on the nose. I found it funny that Lee got so angry with Scott for not wanting to be, how did she put it? Uh, Wanting of human warmth and compassion.
Yeah.
It seemed very out of left field. I felt really bad for Scott, who gets left alone.
I mean, we've been building toward it. Like, we've had the little thought bubbles of, like, Scott finds her attractive, she finds him attractive, they're thinking about each other. In the last issue, he wakes up with her draped across his manly chest. They were thirsting in that issue too.
This reminds me of a Kurt Russell movie where he,
Has a manly chest.
hold on, um,
While you look that up, I'm just going to explain that there was some other soap opera elements that I didn't mention. The Teresa reveal. I was really surprised that she is introduced this early.
I was not expecting that. Yeah,
Like, I guess I had no concept for like when she would be introduced, but I'm curious to see where that all leads.
this letter from your mortal enemy will explain everything. I'm your daughter, Papa. Please accept this as proof. This letter that clearly.
It just says she is your daughter, signed Black Tom Cassidy.
It is a bit like, silly and clearly trying to drive a bit of a wedge in the relationship with Moira, and maybe to kind of give him something to do. I don't know. Maybe we're just gonna
He
go back
does
to
need
Black
something to
Tom.
do.
Does he? He kind of felt like the most logical thing to do here was just to send him back to the island with Moira, and we could just move on without him.
Well, maybe he's just a little bored with retired life
I mean, he can clearly go back to being a super spy.
with a gun. Pew,
Yeah,
pew.
with the Han Solo blaster.
Maybe he should take up wearing a vest.
Maybe.
Something to consider.
Okay. I think it's time to talk about the drama happening at the X Mansion now, because we do kind of get the foundational blocks of a confrontation that's forming between Downer Angel and Logan. And Logan is not doing anything wrong, in my opinion, because this is all based off of this. How could he how could he know that that was a robot? What if that wasn't a robot? What if that was somebody in a costume and he just filleted them? Well, that's not what happened. And we get an explanation for all of this in the last issue. Like, Logan is able to smell and scent and use his instincts to
His actual
determine
like mutant
his
powers.
literal mutant powers to determine the identity of somebody. And we've seen him use these repeatedly. So here we have,
Warren wasn't there for that.
which is fine, but like,
Storm does not seem bothered, so he should probably not be bothered.
like Storm is aware and, does kind of stand up for him, and basically being like, yeah, he is a flawed guy. Wolverine is flawed, but, you know, we're the X-Men, and this, if he can't belong here, then where can he belong?
Well, and he even says, like, sure, maybe his enhanced senses told him it was a robot, but would it have made any difference if he'd faced a woman disguised as you?
Like, what a ridiculous hypothetical.
Like wearing a mask or like
Just
it's just such a weird
he f-
what is he even doing here?
it's yeah, it feels like we're just making this a thing so that way he can leave. And like, I don't really like how Professor X kind of acts either. Like, he's kind of in agreement in a way. Trying to find the line. Oh yeah, he says he wonders if the goal is worth the cost. I must confess that occasionally so do I. And that's his response to Storm, basically being like, I don't like Wolverine's violent nature, but he is an X-Man and he's perfect for who he is, and he has so much potential for good, and it's our duty to kind of help him achieve that and give him purpose and direction.
It's weird for him to say this after like the other issue where this happened. He was the one being like, Logan belongs here. He has so much potential. We're working on him and blah blah blah. And now he's like, I do wonder, like, is
Yeah,
should he be here? I think it's just he needs that money coming in.
he's got Sugar Daddy Warren right now.
Yeah, he was just paid to change his opinion, basically.
Yeah, this is all to say, I'm happy to know that this inclusion of Angel is not permanent. I would be very welcoming of seeing his ass kicked out. I do want to give a nice little shout out to Ileana, because she's a cutie, and I loved her interactions with Peter, and
That's in my notes too.
she is very sweet, and I like the idea that the professor can maybe give her a little check and see if she has the mutant gene.
I think it's just such a nice attention to detail that they added in. For reference for the people just, listening and not seeing the page, Nightcrawler basically teleports in and she does the thing where she scrunches up her face because it's stinky and pinches her nose, which is like, oh, this is a cute thing for a small child to do.
What a sweetie.
Will I be able to turn to steel like you when I am grown up?
Oh my god, that reminds me. I totally forgot to mention this when we were talking about, I think, the last issue, or perhaps it was the first one, where Peter tells us that he doesn't need to breathe oxygen when he's in his metal form. What?
That may have came up before.
It caught me off guard, honestly, because I was just like, what? Why wouldn't he need to breathe? I guess, like,
Because he's made of metal. Metal can't breathe.
I, whatever. I'm not gonna.
He also doesn't bleed when he's metal. I feel like it came up at some point.
Sorry, I'm looking at the cover of the next issue, and there's something funny about the cover because it's like the X-Men walking around like this dingy cave or
Flashlights.
something with flashlights. Yeah, it's very funny.
Wait, what is Kitty's costume?
It is. I did like just like a quick because I thought the same thing when I saw it, so I did just a flick forward, and it is I think explained. So we'll find out.
I'm interested in what this is about. Is this the petrified man on the cover?
Now that you said it, it might actually be.
I'm not gonna scroll through, but he kind of looks like it.
Guess we'll find out.
They look like they're in like an 80s horror movie where the kids are like going around looking for ghosts.
Yeah. Ooh.
Uh,
Okay. All right. Yeah, I see where things are kind of going. We have a double-sized issue on the horizon.
oh boy. Me.
Issue 150. Was there anything else you wanted to discuss?
No, I think it's time to, hear what score you're going to give this thing. Mine's going to be higher than
Okay.
yours.
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, I want to give this like a 6. I just felt like it was very mediocre. Didn't really push or move the ball forward all too much. And I think if we
Mm-hmm.
had seen this story beginning, like knowing in the future that there's a big emphasis on like this Magneto stuff, I think I would have rather this story with Kitty and Storm and Spider Woman and Dazzler been like that kind of side hustle that was going on in the issue rather than it being the main focus. And maybe we played up more of the stuff going on with Logan and the X-Men
Shirtless
and
Scott.
what's shirtless Scott lapping it up on an island with,
Old Slim Summers and Lee Forrester.
right? So like for those reasons, yeah, it's like a 6. The arcade stuff was confusing. It didn't really make a ton of sense. It feels like this is a bit of a low for me. But with Magneto around the corner, I am looking forward to that. So like I feel like there's been some groundwork that's laid that I'm excited to see the payoff. I'm excited to see where this stuff with Magneto goes. Is this Atlantis? What's going on with Logan? Why is Kitty dressed weird on the cover of the next issue?
Are
So
they
I
going
think
to test Ileana to see if she's a mutant?
yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm excited to see. So let's just get there. 6 for me.
Think that's a little higher than I thought you were going to do. I'm going to shoot for a solid 6.5. And I think, like you said, the real highlight of this is that after reading these three, it makes me excited to see what comes next. They were all right. You got the Murder World arcade, better than what happened last time plot line, and maybe even a little bit better than I thought it was going to be, even if we spent a weird amount of time on it. But I mean, overall, it just felt very typical moving things. Just throw a couple issues in there. Very typical X-Men. Nothing super stand out. Maybe not filler per se, but just, knocking out some minor story beats as you work toward the next thing. I think with us, finishing that thread, we're going to get to start fresh on what Team A will be up to. And I hope we just get to spend a lot more time with Scott and see what's going to happen now that he's become entangled with Magneto.
Yeah, you actually giving that the recant of your thoughts made me think how this really feels like issue 150 is right around the corner. You know, like we're just kind of spinning the wheels to get to 150 because we're going to put a lot of emphasis on 150. This is a big issue number for us. We want to pull out all the
It's a cool
stops.
number.
It's a cool, solid, even number. So we're going to go for it. Right. So I think even with that kind of context in mind, it kind of paints this picture a little clearer that really we wanted something to have the breadcrumbs ready to pull the trigger for 150. So That's my takeaway. I actually thought you were going to be a lot higher than a 6.5.
I mean, like, it's still got, I could, in theory, go as high as a 7. But, I mean, like, the Caliban action and, like,
Ugh.
storyline is just sort of like whatever.
Yeah.
Arcade is kind of whatever. Like, the first issue is really, what's going on here. I kind of like what they did with, like, Alex, where it shows off his personality and how much different he is than his brother Scott. But, yeah, just, kind of good. 6.5, kind of good.
Yeah.
7, good. 8, great. Specifically the phrase, I think kind of good really sums it.
I think kind of good is very generous.
Descriptor for 6.5.
Just before we wrap up, the last thing I just want to say about this issue is the friendship that we're seeing grow between Logan and Kurt is wonderful as well. It was equally as good as the Ilyana and Peter stuff, because having now read this in the entirety of their existence as characters, they weren't always as close as they are at this point, because now there's like this level of trust where they're training together and I think opening up to one another, and seeing that friendship juxtaposed next to like what's happening with Angel, I think really makes it shine even more, that the people who know and spend time with Logan actually do like doing that.
And I think they've really been laying the groundwork for this for a while as well. Like, even in those early issues, it starts with him being like, I think giving him the moniker of Misfit or Elf,
Yeah.
or both of those. But then, there's, I think, like, the demon calls him like a changeling, and then he freaks out and he's like, hey, he's not a changeling, he's a misfit. We call him that, not you. Blah, blah, blah. Like, we've had a lot of different moments up until here that are building here and there on their friendship. And, I think their little trip to Canada was a cute continuation of that as well. But I like it. I think it's a lot more interesting of a friendship to explore than, I know early on it was kind of him and Peter buddying around a lot, but I think it's more interesting because, Logan's like the violence, and Nightcrawler is more, passive and not so violent, and kind of him and Peter have that in common. So it's more interesting kind of pairing those different folks.
Yeah, the odd couple.
There you go.
There you go.
That does it for this episode of Uncanny Book Club. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you next episode, where we'll discuss issues 149 and 150.
Happy New Year!
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Uncanny Book Club. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share with a friend.